gosh, man, I did not realize that it was this good. Okay, maybe I did. Maybe for a lot of Canadiens fans, we all felt that this was the case. But because we don't want to come off as crazy, we don't want to come off as uninformed, we don't want to come off as the biggest fanboys in the universe, maybe not a lot of us wanted to believe this right away, but now that Patrik Laine himself said this on air, I think it's time to go out there and believe it. This is a comment that Laine made in the post-game interview with the TVA crew after yesterday's win against the Detroit Red Wings. I never played with a better power play quarterback than Lane Hutson, and I played with a lot of great players. This tweet was posted by Mike Lemieux, and in the replies, there is a video clip which thankfully is in English. It's Maxime Lapierre of the TVA Sports broadcast going out there and talking to Laine, saying, "You've played with a lot of great defensemen on the power play, obviously. Where do you rank Lane Hutson in terms of those you have played with before? Because it seems like he is so special, so different compared to any other defenseman in the NHL." Now, I'm gonna go out there and say this right away. Firstly, I don't necessarily think he is the only defenseman of his kind. You know what I'm already thinking about, baby, right? This guy reminds me of Quinn Hughes. Everything Quinn can do, Lane can also do. Maybe not to the same capacity, but the same style is definitely there. Anyways, all commentary aside, Laine responds saying, "Yeah, I think that Lane Hutson is probably the best quarterback of power play I've ever played with." And Laine even says, and yeah, I've played with some great ones throughout my years, but I think he's just so creative and so sneaky, and he can sell something and then he'll do something completely different. It's amazing. Like, I haven't seen anything like that. So it's special to be able to play with those guys and to watch them too. Laine is going out there and glazing Lane Hutson in such an amazing way. And I wanted to take these comments and form a narrative video about it, because when you think about some of the guys that Patty Laine has played with over the years, obviously he has been an NHL stud ever since his debut in 2016-17, but throughout the years he has played with some very notable power play quarterback names. To hear that a rookie, undersized, playing in Montreal, and Lane Hutson is the best power play quarterback that Laine has ever played with, it does get things going as to how crazy his overall ceiling could be. And so, I wanted to take a blast of the past, a retrospective look at all the power play quarterbacks, or maybe some of them, that Patrik Laine has played with in the past, and discuss how Lane Hutson is better than each of them. Starting out with the 2016 World Junior team. Because Patrik Laine did make this team, he was a draft-eligible player, he had 13 points in 7 games, he was not first on his team in points though, oh no, not by a long shot. That honor belonged to Jesse Puljujärvi, who had himself 17 points in 7 games played that year. Laine, of course, was the main triggerman, and the power play quarterback on that season was Olli Juolevi. Juolevi, Laine, and Puljujärvi were all draft-eligible in that season, and the fact that they were all 17 years old doing really good things at the World Juniors put them all on the map as top prospects in the 2016 draft. It's why Olli Juolevi became a 5th overall pick by Vancouver, arguably the biggest bust the Canucks have ever had when you consider that Matthew Tkachuk was taken right after. And Patrik Laine, that's part of the reason he was taken 2nd overall. He was an overall goal-scoring beast. But hearing that Juolevi is not as good of a power play quarterback as Lane Hutson is, yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Juolevi sucks. Maybe he was good back in that tournament. I mean, he had 9 points in 7 games, so obviously he was doing some things right. But still, things were not looking all too well there. If you go over to Laine's first season with the Winnipeg Jets, you'll see that he was the top guy on the team in goals. He had 36 goals in his rookie season, and the top defenseman in points was Dustin Byfuglien, with 52 points in 80 games. 2nd overall, you had Jacob Trouba, and then you had Josh Morrissey, who had 20 points. Honestly, it's kind of funny to see these names blast themselves back up on my computer screen. Dustin Byfuglien, man, what a blast to the past that was. Byfuglien had 39 assists, Trouba had 25, and Josh Morrissey, who was still young at the time, had 14. Obviously, it's difficult to talk about Morrissey because he was so young, but Dustin Byfuglien was the #1 D-man on Winnipeg that season, and hearing that Lane Hutson is a better quarterback on the power play than Byfuglien is, yeah, no, that's not too surprising when you consider the profile, the style here, of course. Byfuglien was a lot more of an in-your-face kind of offensive force of nature. He was kind of a wrecking ball. Lane Hutson is more slick. He is more sly. He opens things up for his teammates. Byfuglien will just use whatever available space is there and take control himself. Honestly, you can say the same thing about Jacob Trouba. Going over the next few years of Winnipeg Jets hockey, you can see some other defensemen start to break out and become the top power play quarterback. Neil Pionk emerged a few seasons later. Patrik Laine was still there, maybe not getting as many goals as he had in prior years, but Pionk has actually been so good in Winnipeg the last little while here. He is a goal-scoring machine, and Josh Morrissey has, of course, started to really round out his game too, getting more production in the process. If you go over to Columbus and take a look at the power play quarterbacks that Laine played with over there, obviously the easy one, the very, very easy one, is Zach Werenski, who has been the top defenseman in Columbus points pretty much every year he's healthy. He had that one season where he didn't play much, and Adam Boqvist was the top guy. But other than that, it's Zach Werenski in Columbus who is the main player. There also was a season with Seth Jones, which I don't want to go out there and totally count because they weren't on the team for a full season at the same time. But even thinking about Seth Jones, I mean, Hutson is more elusive than Jones. He moves better. I'd say that he passes better than Jones. Sure, Jones has the physical factor, which is always going to be a thing when you're talking about Lane Hutson. But still, you don't necessarily need to be big and brutal and strong to do well on the power play. You just kind of need to be able to do offensive things. Zach Werenski is kind of like a nice happy medium between the two. Very good offensive talent, very good defensive talent. He's big, he can move, and he can create good plays too. Werenski is kind of like an all-around, all-situations kind of defender, but to hear even that Lane Hutson is better than Werenski at being that power play quarterback, oh yeah, that's definitely great to hear. And then you had the one season in Columbus where Adam Boqvist was the top guy. Honestly, that's a little bit of a wash considering Boqvist has not really rounded himself out to the expectations that many Blackhawks fans thought he would be able to accomplish back when he was drafted in 2018. I remember thinking about the 2018 draft and saying that, hey, after Dahlin, it's going to be Hughes and Boqvist, and then you have Bouchard and Dobson and everybody else. Boqvist was seen as that kind of a guy, maybe even better than Quinn Hughes in some people's eyes. I personally was always a Quinn Hughes believer, which I will always pat myself on the back for, but Adam Boqvist, to see him round himself out in Columbus the way that he did, obviously Lane Hutson is better than him, and it's unfortunate for Boqvist, but that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles. And so when you think about it, you think about all the top guys that Patty Laine has been receiving passes on the power play from. You got Olli Juolevi, you've got Werenski, you've got Boqvist, you've got Pionk and Dustin Byfuglien a few times here, maybe Josh Morrissey by the time he started to become really good in Winnipeg. But to hear that Lane Hutson is already better than all of them, at a rookie age too, that is absolutely inspiring for any Canadiens fan that is wanting to look into the long-term future and see what Hudson's about. This is going to be a superstar in the National Hockey League, and already he's one of the top producing defensemen in the entire league. If you go over to the NHL right now and you sort by defensemen, Lane Hutson is literally up there in the 12th overall spot. Actually, no, he's tied for 9th with Evan Bouchard, Jake Wallman, and Victor freaking Hedman. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. If you go over to points per game, you can see that Hutson isn't really doing all too hot, but if you go over to assists, this is where Hutson is top 5. He's above everybody not named Adam Fox, Josh Morrissey, Quinn Hughes, and Cale Makar. I mean, what else can you really say about Lane Hutson and the way that he's playing? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Patrik Laine saying that Lane Hutson is the best power play quarterback he has ever played with, who just happens to be a rookie, who just happens to be so new, so inexperienced, so small, yet so good. And what do you think this means for the long-term projectability of Laine and Hutson together? We did make this video commentary a few weeks ago saying that all Lane Hutson needs to do to win the Calder is to just be on that top power play with Laine. And that's exactly what he's been doing. That's exactly how he's been getting points. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Lane and Laine, and what are your thoughts about these guys heading into the future. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.